Simon Told Helen wins a half length. Zach Manelli second.
Welcome to Greyhound Gossip.
Peaky Blinders start cheering for Tommy Shelby wins the WA Sprint Championship final.
Featuring Peter O'Neill.
Mozza moves up to Mermaid Manelli. Fab's Gem 3 deep. Here comes Fab's Gem.
Hard style recode by 5 lengths to Simon Told Helen. Third Tommy Shelby.
This segment is dedicated to the discussion and promotion of greyhound racing.
Cindy's Oliver, Rockstar Patriot, Paul Stewart, back-to-back with Rockstar Patriot in the Galaxy.
Handsome Prince, a bolder clear. The former Tasmanian Handsome Prince has won the $1 million chase.
And a very good morning, everyone. Welcome along to Greyhound Gossip, big weekend of greyhound racing over the weekend. And on Friday, we had the voting for and the discussion in regards to who will make the Top Gun sprint and distance final. And that'll be announced a little bit later on this week. Also, shock news coming out that J, the champion Queenslander, is out of retirement and going into the heats of the Ipswich Cup a little bit later on this week as well. So that was big news that broke over the weekend here. Locally, we had the running of the Great Western final. Apache Havoc was too good for Rod Noden and was able to win the Great Western over Water Ripper. And then on the Saturday night at Mandurah, we had an outstanding night of greyhound racing and the feature race going the way of the Nick Minutillo trained chaser in Molfetta Cruz, who was able to overcome box number 5. We might get straight into the Greyhounds WA All-Star Sprint Final. Nick will be joining us in a few moments' time. Let's go back to the final of the Group 2 All-Star Sprint.
Racing, Emerald Guard was second last away well was Wise Barra charging forward. Molfetta Cruz goes to the top. Around the outside, Sunset Nightjar. Wise Barra's coming through underneath, and also there was Emerald Guard who's trying to poke up the inside. Daddy's Girl, Bungee Man back in the field. My Anarchy Boys a long way back with Burglemere. Up to the turn though, Molfetta Cruz is clear. Danger as Emerald Guard sticks to the inside. Molfetta Cruz, Emerald Guard's coming. Molfetta Cruz, Emerald Guard, head bobber. Oh, that's nearly a dead heat. Emerald Guard put in a big dive at the line at Molfetta Cruz and made it very interesting. Up for third, we had My Anarchy Boy, a gap back there to Bungee Man. Also,
very good call by Matt Young, who was calling all of the action for us on Saturday night down at Mandurah. And Molfetta Cruz, if you look at the replay where I was watching over in Melbourne, you thought that the one might have got up on the inside, but Molfetta Cruz was able to turn the tables on Emerald Guard this week and hold on and score. And a man who would have been wrapped with that is Nick Minutillo, who's a special guest on Greyhound Gossip this morning. Nick, good morning. Welcome along to the show and congratulations. A great victory and a well-deserved victory for Molfetta Cruz and yourself there on Saturday night at Mandurah.
Thank you very much. It was one of those races where it could have gone either way, but happy to get the result, obviously. Yeah.
Is that your biggest win in the sport?
My biggest training win, yes, by far. Prior to that, I had Nero Bolt, who won the state championship, and we went to Wentworth Park with him. But as a trainer, he would definitely be my biggest achievement, if you like.
Well done. Outstanding effort and great to see. You're standing behind the boxes at the 488-metre start point. Do you know what is happening? Can you see the finish line, or do you have a vision of the finish line, and did you think you'd held on?
No, we thought we were looking at the monitor. Once they go down the back straight, you sort of lose sight of them. And we were then looking at the monitor and coming down the straight, he'd got in front, and I thought, gee, hang on, because the previous week Emerald Guard came through on the rail and got him probably half a length on the line. But on Saturday night, he was able to keep going, and we just got home. Yeah,
remarkable. I called the heat the week before, and I was actually surprised because I know how strong your boy can be. He's won over the 652 metres before. I was surprised that Emerald Guard was able to run him down, so he's done well to be able to hold him off there on Saturday.
Yeah, it was a different run race this Saturday gone. The previous week in the heats, he got caught a bit wider than he normally does. He likes to track wide anyway, but he got caught a bit wider, had to go around a couple as they came around the turn, and he drifted off a little bit further. And obviously that gave Emerald Guard an inside run, and he wasn't able to sort of hang on there. But this week he was able to get to the front early, and so he was a bit closer to the rail, and that may have helped.
remarkable effort for a greyhound that's locally bred. That was his 59th career start on Saturday night, and he's had 21 wins and 18 placings, and he's won in excess of $250,000 for you now, plus the breeders' and owners' bonuses. It's a great achievement by this dog.
Yes, it has been, and he's been racing well. And I think Mandurah has suited him down to the ground because his style of racing is such that he likes the track a bit wide. He wasn't beginning as well early on in the piece, but in more recent times, in the last couple of months, that's improved a little bit, and all those little things all come together and make it a lot easier. But he certainly prefers an outside draw. If he gets mobile and doesn't get interfered with early, he's always a big chance.
Can you tell us about? You've just been on a trip over to Italy, and a well-deserved holiday. Greyhound trainers don't get to do them very often, and you're lucky enough, obviously, to be able to leave him in the capable hands of Eric Campana while you're away.
Well, you can always go for a holiday. You can always plan it, so anybody can do that. It's just a matter of deciding when you go, and if you want to keep your dogs racing, then you've got to look for someone to take them on. And I was fortunate enough that Eric took on that role while I was away, and the dog raced well for him, and he did well. Yeah, so thanks to Eric Campana for that.
Can you tell us about your holiday? Because I know one of the places you went to... I've been over there now a few times since COVID and a few times before COVID, and I love going over there. I went to Morfetta, that's where I come from, and that's where I use my prefix as Morfetta on my race dogs, and I just go there and just chill out and do nothing for 2 or 3 weeks and come home and start again. So it's just near Bardi, which I know very well because my father-in-law was from Bardi. Can you tell our listeners...
Just 24 Ks south of Bari.
Okay, and whereabouts? So it's on the opposite coast, basically, from Sorrento, which most people would know.
Yes, so it's on the same coastline as Bari, obviously, which is the Adriatic Sea. Yep. It's on the coast. It's a fishing town traditionally, but it has changed over the years. But no, it was good to get over there. And
do you have family there still?
I do. So that's another reason why I like to go there, apart from anything else, catch up with all the family and,
And one final question on your holiday. While you were there, were you able to keep tuned in to listening to your greyhounds? Because they were in very good form. Of course, he won the Group 2 Mandurah Cup earlier on. I think it was in September. He won the Group 2 final there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a week after we arrived. We left the week before that was due to be run, and so we're over there. And all we could do is wait for the replays to come on the website, and that was always about 2 or 3 hours after the event. Yep. But that's the only way we could keep track of what was going on.
Outstanding. What are the plans for him now? Any big plans for him? I know that you did get an invitation to the Top Gun, and the panel met earlier in the week or late last week, and I noticed that you hadn't accepted that.
No. So again, it's one of those things where you've got to go across the other side of the country. Never been to the Meadows. Would he be able to handle the Meadows? I don't know. But, there's other races here that potentially he could get involved in, and I think we may stick to that sort of thing rather than, go to Melbourne or Sydney or wherever else for the time being in any case. And, so, like I said before, he loves Mandurah, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens when we go back to Cannington, because at some point we're going to go and race back at Cannington and just see if he can maintain the same form and or handle the track. Because going back in the early days when he was in his maiden status and novices and what have you, he was doing okay, but he never really ran any fast times as such. It just suited the jump and then the long back straight at Mandurah. And I think that's what's helped him over the past probably 5 or 6 months.
You've done a wonderful job with him. Great to see you back from your holiday and recharged. And I'm sure you've got a very interesting and bright 6 months ahead, at least, with Molfetta Cruz and the rest of your team. Thanks for joining us, Nick.
Thanks very much.
Good on you. Nick Minutillo joining us after winning the Group 2 All-Star Sprint with Molfetta Cruz, who's been a wonderful chaser, and he's won 2 Group 2s now in the last month. Let's continue on with Greyhound gossip. We're about to be joined by Anna Smet, who is joining us from Racing and Wagering Western Australia. And, of course, recently we heard of a study to improve safety for racing for greyhounds. Of course, caring for horses and greyhounds is at the heart of the racing industry and everything we do at Racing WA. So Anna has been good enough to join us this morning to tell us a little bit about the study that was we saw engaged from, I think it was the Massey University. She'll be able to tell us where it was from. As we say good morning to Dr. Anna Smet this morning. Anna, good morning.
Good morning, Peter. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I hope you had a good weekend, and I wanted to get you on. I know you've just recently returned from a holiday and you're recharged as well. Tell us a little bit about this study that we had recently released to the industry in regards to the welfare of greyhounds and the safety of greyhounds.
Yeah, absolutely, and delighted to be able to have a chat about it. This is something that's been in the pipeline for some time. As part of the ongoing commitment to reducing the risk of injuries, we engaged Massey University some time back to look at an epidemiological study of greyhound racing injuries in WA. So we used external expertise for this, an international expert. Professor Chris Rogers was leading the team over at Massey, and we worked very closely with him and his team to look at the risk of injury for greyhounds. And he's worked across all 3 of the racing codes, so he's very familiar with the racing environment as well. So while I was away on holidays, actually, that report was published in the Australian Veterinary Journal, and it's freely available to everyone to download from that website. So it's been a long time coming, but it's a very exciting development for us. So I can talk a bit more about what we did and what was involved there, but happy to for you to ask what you think the listeners would be interested in as well. Yeah, no,
if you can go through what the research actually came up about, because we've seen a lot of money that Racing WA have put in recently in regards to our tracks. We're seeing Cannington that's closed at the moment. We've had some work done there. We had work done at Mandarin, also at Northam, and all of that you will tell us from the research that you have received goes towards the safety and the welfare of the greyhounds.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all this, it shows that the WA greyhound racing industry has a proactive approach in making changes to improve greyhound safety, and is really transparent about what's needed to tackle this challenge. So nice to see WA taking the lead nationally and looking critically at its data and communicating transparently about the risks as well. So you're right, a lot of funding has been invested already in track safety, but in terms of the other risk factors, we actually didn't have that much to go on with regards to what are the most significant factors affecting particularly the most serious of injuries that we know greyhounds can sustain while racing, which are of course the limb fractures. So what we actually did was we used a large data set to look at those risk factors. So there was 7 years worth of data that we've been collecting over the years, and statistical modelling was used. So basically, just in plain English, what that means is the researchers screened for the effect of several factors. So this was race factors like what year it was, the season the race was in, the racetrack, the race number, the race start position, the starting box, the race distance, all those things that can affect racing and the safety of the greyhound. And also dog factors, so things like the dog's sex, their age, how many races they'd already had, whether there was a change in weight from the previous race, how long it had been since they'd previously raced, and whether or not the dog was injured in the previous race. So these are all things that I think those involved in the industry might have had a thought of, I wonder if that has an impact. And using this large data approach, it means we can actually assess statistically whether those things are having an impact and whether that impact is statistically significant or not. So when that was looked at, a multivariate analysis was run to look at which of those factors actually predicted whether or not a limb fracture would happen. And we looked specifically at the risk of hock fractures because we know they are one of the more common limb fractures that occur in WA, and also the risk of a front leg fracture. And look, the data is a testament to the fact that, there's a really good ability to identify injury by the on-track vets. Yep. We've got a very good data set there. But the really positive thing was that through this study, we were able to identify significant effects of a number of factors on the likelihood of sustaining one of these fractures. And it was actually different between the two types of fracture. So just in a nutshell, the factors that affected the likelihood of having a front limb fracture in a greyhound was which racetrack the greyhound was racing on, the experience level of the greyhound, and whether or not they'd had a previous injury. So those are the three factors affecting the front limb fracture. And for hock fractures, in addition to the racetrack, it was also found that the season the race occurred in, the greyhound's age, and the time since the previous race had a significant impact. So that gives us a really solid basis of evidence on which to build improvements and policy changes to reduce the risk of those types of injuries going forward. So that's all. It's a big study, and this is just a little nutshell summary, but I hope it will interest some listeners enough to have a further read and to engage in some further discussions about that.
So I'll get you to tell us what the site is that they can go and have a look at that as well. But a question for you. So we've got all this information and I've had a look at it, and it's actually very interesting to have a look at it. But since the research has been done by Racing WA and you've got that injury data, how can you use that and how will Racing WA use that to make, I presume, informed decisions in going forward to try and improve the safety of the greyhound?
Yeah, and that's the whole reason this was done. So that's definitely a priority. It's no good us knowing more about our data and not doing anything with it. And this is really an opportunity to seize what we have and take it forward for the sustainability of the industry. So the findings have only been released just about a month ago. So before the publication date, we've had an internal working group here at RAWA which included the vets, the stewards, the racing department and animal welfare, to consider what do we actually do with this and what are the options available to us within the racing context to try to reduce those risks now that we know what those risk factors are. So that internal group is just part of the process. We're really committed to working closely with the industry as well going forward. But at this stage, we have released an action plan, which has been developed in that collaborative way. And within that, we've identified 10 points which we'll be working through with industry over the coming months to try to address some of those risk factors. So we're really thrilled to have a solid evidence base for this, and that we know that injury is a really emotive topic, and it's absolutely devastating when they happen, not only for the greyhound but all the connections as well. And to have a solid foundation from which to go forward and to consider what we can actually do is actually quite helpful in coming up with these action points. But there will be a lot of room for collaboration over the coming months as we refine several of them. It's a lot of work, and I think it's going to be really worth doing.
Definitely. We're speaking with Dr. Anna Smet from Racing WA on Greyhound Gossip this morning. So, Anna, from the data that you've received and that you've delved through, is there any surprises in that data?
I don't think we were surprised in the differences between the causes of the risk factors for hocks versus front limbs, but what it did do was it made it a lot clearer where what we could actually do and how those can be divided. The racetrack came out as a significant risk factor for both those limb fracture types, with Mandurah being having a significantly lower risk of greyhounds sustaining a limb fracture compared to the other two tracks. So I don't know if I'd call that surprising, but it does provide us with with a good reason to consider what can be done in that space with regards to our track utilisation, our racing schedule. So that does come out really strongly. And additionally, it was actually quite encouraging that what we've always suspected to be the case, that seasonal effect that hock fractures seem to see an uptake in the summer months, that is actually supported in the data too. So that feeds into the proposed changes to the racetracks, the racing schedule as well. But I wouldn't say those are entirely surprising. It's more that it's actually provided data to support what we thought rather than being entirely unexpected.
We saw recently a petition put towards government in regards to greyhound racing in Western Australia, and some of the information that I've read from that petition is incorrect. And I know Racing WA are doing their best to try and put out the correct information, but I presume that this data and this inquiry that you've had going here in regards to the industry update that you're talking about this morning has been taken to the WA state government.
So our corporate affairs team is ensuring that the racing minister is informed of all the progress that we made, and they are looking after the external communication as well. I think the fact that we've gone with publishing this in an external journal, so before it can be published there, it's actually peer-reviewed by other scientists. So completely, we don't get to pick who they are. The journal picks who they are. So that means that other independent scientists have reviewed our this analysis. And it's available for all to see. And I think the fact that we've gone that route rather than keeping it as an internal document that we look after internally and we sort of control access to, I think that speaks volumes as well, that we're confident in what we're doing in WA, that we are prepared to look at the difficult questions. We're prepared to revisit topics that we might have already looked at with new eyes, and that when action needs to be taken, we're not afraid to delve into that and to create real change that will have an impact for the safety and the welfare of greyhounds in the industry.
It's fantastic what you're doing, your team, and it reflects what Racing WA has in regards to the commitment to animal welfare during their racing careers and beyond the track as well. Our listeners this morning, if they want to go and have a look at this, how can they do that?
So there has been an EDM that's gone out to all of our licensed participants. So please check your emails if you haven't already. There's a link in there straight to the paper. If you would like it sent straight to you, just send an email to animalwelfare@rawa.com.au and we can send you the PDF copy as well.
Fantastic. Dr. Anna Smet, who joins us this morning on Greyhound Gossip, we appreciate your time. Thank you for giving us that update. Very important for the industry, and it's great to see Racing WA getting on the front foot in trying to get as much data as possible to make racing safer for our greyhounds and also horses.
Thanks very much, Peter.
Thanks. Dr. Anna Smet joining us on Greyhound Gossip this morning. Very important, and as we mentioned, you can go and have a look at that on your emails. All of the racing industry would have received that, or go to racingwa.com.au. Greyhound racing today at Northam. The first gets underway at 12:41, a 12-race program there, so looking forward to all of the action coming in from the Avon Valley, and Jesse Earnshaw will be calling all of that information for us. We will take a break, and then straight after this, Tim Walker will be back and he will have Off and Pacing.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.